Hi, folks. Good afternoon and welcome to this month's featured webinar on the future of speed control, sponsored by Protective Insurance. I'm Amit Jain from Roadz, the platform that powers the Protective marketplace. So speed governance is not a new concept. It's been around for a while. However, over the next 30 minutes, what you are going to learn is how the speed governing technology has evolved from the days when a vehicle was prohibited from exceeding one predetermined top speed threshold to now when the speed can be governed based on the posted speed limit, and it can vary from road segment to road segment. So now what you're seeing is the fleets with these new technologies can move from a passive solution to the problem to a more proactive and a dynamic solution. To kick it off, Harry Stork from Protective Insurance will share a few thoughts about the marketplace, followed by a presentation by Bob and Mitch Morissette from MAGTEC. We will end the session by viewing their solution on the Protective marketplace. And so without further ado, Harry.
Yes, thanks, Amit, and welcome everyone. Amit, I think you summed up very well the problem that the SafeSpeed platform solves. We're very excited to have MAGTEC SafeSpeed as a member of our marketplace. For those of you that might be new to the marketplace concept, we kicked this off with a launch back in November of 2020. And the MAGTEC solution, the SafeSpeed product, it really solves a problem that we hear over and over from our insureds that have been using, as Amit said, either a top threshold governing speed platform or using telematics and exception reports to manage driver speeding issues through telematics or other aftermarket products. The challenge is that once a speeding event has been identified, then it is up to the fleet safety team to take action, to coach the driver, to document that there's been coaching and training, and that's very time consuming. So as Amit said very well, this is a more proactive technology, very powerful with actual versus posted speeding, and it really eliminates that time-consuming human element to a large degree, where a fleet safety manager that is very busy doesn't need to actually be as involved in the speeding issues identified by a telematics platform, because the SafeSpeed platform keeps the speeding from happening in the first place. So we're very excited to have the folks from SafeSpeed join us today. And with that, I'll turn it over to Bob and Mitch.
Thank you, Harry. My name is Mitch Morissette. I'm going to spend the next few minutes going through this presentation with everybody and introducing you to a little bit about the company and more importantly, our exciting new product called SafeSpeed. And then we're going to kind of also touch on how we proactively manage evolving threats and risks on the roads as well. Our background started out in security. So MAGTEC is a company we started in the UK as a security company focused on preventing unauthorized use of vehicles. It was used with the UK military originally, and then in '95, Bob and his partner acquired North American rights, purchased the company, and started manufacturing everything over here. We started focusing on the transportation industry and preventing any unauthorized use of vehicles. Typically, it was high value cargo, hazmat, pharmaceutical, tobacco. The desirable types of products was where we found a lot of interest in our technology. And it's been evolving ever since. In fact, SafeSpeed is the latest generation of our remote hijacking product, which is a remote vehicle disabling technology that we developed over 16 years ago now. So typically, most telematics platforms right now, they report at a time interval. You're capturing a moment in time as the vehicle's driving, and that can be used to compare to a speed limit if you're getting current reporting, and you can see that, yes, at this one snapshot in time, they may have been speeding, or they may not have been, but in between, you're not seeing anything. You're completely dependent on the reporting interval, and it doesn't prevent speeding. It's just giving you some indication, as Harry and Amit had mentioned. So, it is a very reactive. It's been a very reactive type of technology to date, just being able to see what's going on and unable to actually proactively do anything about it. When we developed SafeSpeed, we wanted to take it a step further and provide a tool that aligned with our technology that gave fleets the ability to proactively manage it before it becomes a problem. So instead of allowing them to speed, finding out about it after the fact, trying to coach them on it, we will just address it before it even occurs and prevent it from happening. So SafeSpeed is powered by MAGTEC. It's based on our technology that we originally developed to deal with hijacking situations, and it gives us a lot of control over how the speed of the vehicle is being managed. It is intelligent. It's reporting back its location. It's getting live speed data. So it knows what the speed limit is on the road that it's on. If you turn from one road to another, it's going to update and get that new speed limit on whatever that road is. It's going to proactively prevent the vehicle from exceeding the posted speed limit. And it's not an old school governor. It's not just you don't have to pick that one speed. It's going to dynamically adjust, which results in requiring the vehicle to maintain that speed that the roads have been designed and engineered for. It can also, we've had it actually, there's been situations where it's helped address medical events, for example. In the event of a pedal misapplication, there's been several in the news where there have been driver suffers a medical event, they misapply the throttle pedal unintentionally and accelerate the vehicle well over the speed limit, and it ends up in a crash that can be, horrific. Whereas maintaining the speed limit will help prevent even in those situations. So even with a good driver who is adhering to the speed limit most of the time or all the time, this can really help in medical events by preventing it from running away if the pedal does get misapplied. Allows fleets the ability to deal with any how's my driving complaints that might come in. Allows you to proactively address it, reach out and actually control that vehicle if necessary. We have also tied in some really great tools allowing fleets to apply their own best practices. Just because the posted speed limit is 80 or 85 in Texas doesn't mean you have to let your class 7 or 8 truck do 80, 85 miles an hour. That's not how it's designed to work. It allows you to set a top speed. You can set an overall maximum. So even if the speed limit is higher, it can be used to limit it to, say, 65 or 68 or wherever you feel comfortable. If you feel that that's where your maximum needs to be, that will override whatever any higher speed limits are, but it'll help mitigate that risk below. So in the event that they're driving in a 45 or a 30 zone, it's going to actually govern them at that speed. But if it goes up to 80 or 85, it's still going to keep them at that 65 or 68, whatever you decide to set it to. We also allow an overage threshold. So, not everybody is comfortable with governing right at the speed limit. Obviously, sometimes you need to give your drivers a little bit of flexibility, and knowing that you're going to mitigate that risk by backstopping it, you can set it maybe a few miles an hour over, so they have the ability to manage the speed limit on their own without actually running into the limiting function. But that should something go wrong, at least, or they try to go over, at least you have that peace of mind, knowing that they're not going to go more than 3 over the speed limit, for example. The driver does have an override. There is a momentary override capability in the event that they need to merge and the system doesn't release fast enough for the driver. They can tap that button. There's a momentary override that will give them, a minute or so of override so that they can safely merge it. In some situations, if the if the data in the database has not necessarily been updated, for example, an old construction zone. If an old construction zone that they've been working on for years is now complete, and that speed limit has now been raised back up to the posted limit, and you don't want it. The driver may be limited to that lower speed of the construction zone, for example. So they have that override capability in those events where they need to get a few miles an hour over, for example. They'll still never be able to exceed the maximum speed that you've set, but it does give them a little bit of control. Now, every time that override is used, it is logged in the system. You've got full visibility into how often it was used, where it was used, and helps address any abuse, potential abuse with it. We can, depending on the vehicle, kick out cruise control if they're using cruise. On most vehicles, that's pretty simple to do. Lighter duty, a little bit more challenging, but the cruise kick out does ensure that if they do go over speed with cruise, it will kick out. And in the event of a downhill situation, we do not apply the brakes. I'd like to just make that clear. SafeSpeed prevents the driver from requesting the engine to accelerate. So that when limiting, it just prevents them from accelerating or maintaining the speed of the vehicle, which will in turn slow them down. We do not apply brakes for safety reasons. That's not a safe way of slowing down a vehicle due to road conditions, things like that. You don't ever want to get into that situation. So we just dethrottle the vehicle. But in the event that they do go over speed down a hill, we do have an audible alert that will alert them that they have exceeded the speed limit, and give them as we're limiting, it'll give them an indication that they do need to slow down. That also comes in handy if they come in too hot to a lower speed zone. The speed limit drops from maybe 55 to 45 and they don't realize it. It's going to go out. It's going to give them a buzzer and alert them that they do need to slow down. We've done numerous pilots over the years and they all pretty much look like this. We do a baseline for the first couple weeks. We'll install the system and we'll allow it to run without doing active limiting. But because we're collecting, we know the speed limit on board the vehicle, wherever that vehicle is, we're actually collecting it second by second. So every second that vehicle's driving, we can compare it to the speed limit. So we're able to tell, instead of waiting for a reporting interval that could be a minute apart or several minutes apart, and in that snapshot where you have no visibility on what's going on in between, SafeSpeed can actually measure that. So based on the speed the vehicle is doing and the posted speed limit that it already knows, it's able to build a very accurate profile as to how that vehicle is being driven. So for the first couple of weeks, we'll grab a baseline. And in this particular case, you can see that a lot of the fleet, they were anywhere from 10 to 35% of their time was spent speeding. And then when we turned it on, overnight, it was virtually eliminated. You've got a couple of little spikes there where the vehicle might have come in too hot to a lower speed zone, might have been coasting down a hill type thing. So it does capture a little bit, but we have essentially, if you look at this next chart here, it shows the speed reduction, the 3 to 5 miles per hour over the speed limit were reduced by 88.5%, and the greater than 9 miles per hour were reduced by almost 96%, which is a significant improvement. And if you look at the bottom of the graph, it shows the greater than 9 in this particular pilot, was over 6 hours. 6 hours and 10 minutes was spent greater than 9 miles per hour over the posted speed limit at all speeds. And then once we went active, it dropped to less than 16 minutes across all the pilot vehicles combined. We can tie into, we've got an integration with some ADAS systems as well. So forward-facing cameras that you can actually will pick up speed signs. So temporary construction zones, that's very useful. Following distance, for example. Being able to read the distance to the vehicle in front of you will allow our system to act as a adaptive cruise type system where cruise control will maintain that safe distance, but you have nothing on the pedal. SafeSpeed will work on the pedal that way. So it'll actually dethrottle the vehicle if your truck gets too close to the vehicle in front. So it'll always maintain that safe following distance as well, which is like a really unique use of the technology. It will also dethrottle in the event that it senses that the ADAS system senses a potential collision. So that dethrottling, in the event of perhaps a pedestrian, could give that pedestrian the extra moment it needs to get out of the way. It could allow the driver a little extra notice to slow the vehicle down as well, making the difference between a life and death situation. Because we're a security company, of course, we wanted to be focused on security as well. So SafeSpeed brings a lot of really unique safety solutions to the industry, but we still have the ability to bring in some of our security features as well. And with cargo theft is on the rise, and in today's world, a lot of products we didn't think would ever be considered high value have now become targets as well. So theft is up. And we have also the ability to add our access control system as well to SafeSpeed. So through the use of either our Tap ID, which is a fob, can be tapped on the reader there to authenticate the driver to allow them to start and operate the vehicle, or our Prox ID can utilize existing driver ID badges that a fleet may have already deployed. So they can use that to authenticate the vehicle. Without it, you just can't start or operate the vehicle. We have also, because SafeSpeed was based on our remote disabling technology in the event of a hijacking, we included that feature in every SafeSpeed unit that's out there now. It essentially just lowers the speed limit. So if you activate the remote disabling, our standard shutdown is essentially just lowering the speed limit on the vehicle after giving the driver a 30-second warning. We lower the speed of the vehicle by about 10-mile-per-hour increments. And that entire process takes about 4 minutes, bringing it to a safe and controlled slowdown. We also have a rapid one. That one was developed for one of our larger customers that wanted to make sure that their brand was never involved in a terror attack. There was, years ago in New York, there was a Home Depot vehicle used to drive down a sidewalk. They wanted to ensure their vehicles, they could stop should something like that ever occur. So we adapted and created our rapid shutdown, which basically just takes away throttle instantly from the vehicle for those critical situations. We've got a full platform that you can log in and see everything that's going on with the vehicle. We can control the access to it, which fobs will work, which ID badges will work, where the vehicle is, of course, the ability to adjust the speed parameters. This is where you would go in and set your max speed. Any thresholds, if you wanted to allow the 3 miles an hour over the speed limit, you could log in here and set that. So it makes for easy configuration of the system. Obviously, the benefits to remote disabling, it's not a tool that everybody has had or everybody is aware of. So it can be kind of unique when you think about it. It might not be something you think you need, but when you sit back and think about some of the previous, historically, some of the events you may have had, perhaps a disgruntled driver, gives you the ability to control them and prevent them from taking the vehicle wherever they want if you don't approve it. It allows you to help enforce compliance with hours of service. If your driver's out of time and they're only an hour from home and they're going to push it and try to get home, you have the ability to step in and make sure that they don't. That puts your company at risk. Any incidents that occur, you're able to intervene, and if you just being able to safely disable a moving vehicle is a really useful tool to have access to, should you need it. Of course, when you're disabling vehicles, the first question we always get asked is it safe? Well, we developed it back in 2004. We've got hundreds of millions of miles of rubber on the road, and it has been vetted and evaluated by many agencies, FMCSA, TSA, Homeland, the American Trucking Association, actually their Technology and Maintenance Council. They developed guidelines for remote vehicle disabling that they wrote around our product because we developed it back in 2004. We've participated in many government tests of the technology. This year was on a transit bus in California, where they wanted to evaluate, Homeland wanted to evaluate it on transit buses, and it was a interesting event. They had a helicopter up, SWAT team out, and driving around San Diego with the hijacked bus was an interesting event that they wanted us to participate in. The installation was very easy. It's typically an hour to an hour and a half, depending on the vehicle. It is connectorized. We can train and certify companies to do their own installs. We can work with third parties as well to install it, but it is a very easy and transferable install. And of course, the benefits just gives you proactive control over your fleet. Instead of having to select that one speed that you need, that's not too slow for the fast roads and not too fast for the slow roads, which has always been a challenge, trying to find, is it 62, 65, or 68? Even the FMCSA's proposed speed limiter mandate doesn't know exactly what the speed should be. So ultimately, the roads are designed for certain speeds. They all have unique speed limits. This system will allow you to stay within that. And overall, just improve safety for everybody on them. I'm going to now turn it over to Bob to run through some of the case studies.
Thanks, Mitch. We're going to share 4 short case studies, and you'll see how they all kind of tie together. The common issue on each of them is they all have speeding issues, but they also have other pain points that we address. And the first one basically is overcoming the speeding. And this is a private fleet with about 100 trucks, well-run, rapid growth, while challenged with operational concerns. CSA scores, not great, unsafe driving, speeding being their biggest risk. To date, they've depended on telematic-driven data reports, and they've had driver meetings, behavior coaching, written warning notices, with even threatening termination, but they've been unable to curb the behavioral pattern or reduce the speeding violations. And they admit most of the drivers are good employees. They come to work on time, follow most of the company policies and procedures, but too many of them still have a lead foot. With driver shortages, skyrocketing insurance premiums, and the possibility of not being able to qualify at renewal, they thought they should start exploring options. They were referred to us by a mutual partner who suggested that we had proactive solution that would address the speeding, and they'd be able to keep their good employees. I mean, they're good employees, although they speed, they were still good employees. So our patented SafeSpeed system's an intelligent speed limiting product, as Mitch explained. It restricts the speed of the vehicle dynamically based on location. It helps reduce speeding, speed-related crashes, lessens the severity of injuries, reduces fatalities, and mitigates risk. Managers can set different parameters to comply with company policies for maximum top speed, enforced speed, posted speed, custom speed zones. It was designed and calibrated to provide smooth reduction with throttle to slow the vehicle down. Attempts to exceed the enforced speed automatically reduces the engine acceleration and ability to maintain that speed. So when the vehicle speed is less than the enforced speed, the full control of the throttle is smoothly returned. The drivers can operate at or around the posted speed limit. Any attempt to exceed results in SafeSpeed auto-limiting to the company's threshold. So this particular company equipped 10 of their trucks to assess the functionality and benefits. And within a few weeks, they began equipping their other trucks. So in conclusion, the company did acknowledge that speeding is an habitual behavior that they couldn't correct rather than a conscious decision, but with technology is preventable. They justified the expense after considering the potential risk and cost of not equipping them. So today, they've addressed speeding, shifted their focus from reacting to risk to that of implementing proactive backstopping technology to help lessen the risk. The second case study involves also speeding, but it's around unauthorized use and consequences. We have a large global delivery service provider came to us looking for vital security components to add to the SafeSpeed product. The objective was to prevent any unauthorized use, as Mitch mentioned, of their vehicles, especially by those without commercial driver training. Their underlying pain points was to ensure none of their vehicles were ever driven by unauthorized drivers, and more importantly, to help prevent an unauthorized driver from contributing to a catastrophic incident involving injuries and fatalities. So they incorporated the access control that we have that Mitch mentioned to ensure that only authorized employees operated company vehicles and help prevent unauthorized use, even when the vehicle is left unattended while idling. In conclusion, the safety and security enhancements helped address the client's needs while mitigating their risk and exposure. So SafeSpeed backstops risk to help protect the company's brand and reputation, which it did in this case. The third study is customer speed zone compliance. We have a mid-sized fleet, like most, getting their fair share of speeding violations, mostly on slower roads, where drivers are going 45, 50 in a 35 zone. That is no longer a problem. But what is a problem was they ran into 90% of their business has them contractually obligated to ensure that their vehicles do not exceed 15 miles per hour at all pickup and delivery sites. Failure to do so is considered a breach of the contract and could result in immediate termination of business for the carrier. So the problem has been all but eliminated by incorporating geofence 15 mile per hour speed limiting within all pickup and delivery sites. So the conclusion there, we addressed many of their pain points in terms of speeding, and it also gave them a backstop to help the company mitigate the risks around breaching the contractual terms and conditions with their customer. And lastly, the unsafe driving intervention. As Mitch mentioned, there are serious issues with driver shortages today. Turnover is higher than a lot of carriers would like. There are issues around behavior and driver habits. They, as many companies should, recognize the safeguards that SafeSpeed does provide in mitigating exposure around their own driver speeding, driving erratically, driving under the influence or impaired, or in the event a driver again opts to push the hours of service. With the remote vehicle disabling, companies remain in control anytime and anywhere. And that's another example of how SafeSpeed helps backstop the risk for commercial fleets. That pretty well sums it up. And you can see how they all seemingly have speeding as an issue, but they all have various pain points that SafeSpeed has been able to address.
Hey, Bob, thank you so much. Can you just share a promo that you're running while I show everybody the Protective Marketplace?
Sure. What we're running with Protective right now is on a 12-month term, the first 3 months are at no charge. If on a 36-month term, the first 6 months are at no charge.
Okay, thank you, Bob. So folks, I posted the link to the Protective Marketplace in the chat box if you are interested in going there. But I want to give you a quick overview of how to get to the SafeSpeed solution once you are on the Protective Marketplace. So once you're in the marketplace, you'll see on the left side, there's a whole range of categories of solutions which may be relevant to you. But today, since we are focused on SafeSpeed, you can get to the SafeSpeed card from the homepage, or you can go to the driver behavior category and you can get to the SafeSpeed card from there as well. Once you're there, you will see that there's a description of the product that you can go through. There is a YouTube video that you can look at, features and benefits. And most importantly, on the bottom right, there is a section of downloadable documents where there's additional information about the SafeSpeed product that you can on demand go and consult. You'll also see that there is this price over here, the monthly recurring price, and also you can click on it and see the price of the hardware. But at the end of the day, all the information you need is here. In order to further communicate with folks at MAGTEC, all you need to do is click on request info, fill out the short form, hit send. Once you do, they will know to get in touch with you and talk to you more about the product. So that concludes today's presentation. I will ask if there's any questions. Please just put your questions in the chat box and we can go over those questions right now. Let me see if there's any questions. So I do not have any questions.
One just came in, Amit.
Okay, yeah. All right. Does the platform retain historical data about speeding?
Yes.
Mitch or Bob?
Yes, it can. What we do is, because it is getting the location information back, we're also updating the baseline information as well. So that is being collected. Now, it can be purged if you choose to. I mean, you don't have to retain all that information. I know some fleets prefer not to. You know, obviously for lots of different reasons. But you know, it can if you want to.
Okay.
That's the answer. Yeah.
Thank you. There's another question. Do you offer training for fleet managers on how to best utilize the SafeSpeed application?
Absolutely, we do. Yes, we've got, over the past year, we've actually had to transition some of our training to videos as well. So we've created some driver training videos for drivers to understand the product and how it's going to work, so that they can view it at their leisure whenever they want. You know, obviously, we used to schedule visits to do live training sessions with drivers and managers. Now we tend to do it all remote in light of the current world we're in now. But yeah, yes, we do.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you all for joining today's session. It was very helpful learning about the SafeSpeed product. If you need to consult more, like I said, please go to the website. The link is posted over here. And then you can contact MAGTEC through the request info button on their solution card. Folks, have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Amit. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.